enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love cruise.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. You know, it's a different feeling altogether.
I never feel so good in a party yet.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
So good in a party yet. You know why?
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
Get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, Barbados, good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning to you on this Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. It's time for another Morning Barbados presentation. I'm Tisha Hines. I'll be here with you until 8 o'clock this morning, and hoping that you can stick around for all we have to offer today. As we get you ready for your day and your week, we want to start a discussion this morning with His Excellency David Comishong, Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM. And over the last 2 weeks, we've talked about a number of things. I think we focused in the last couple sessions more on what's been happening here in the Caribbean and the offshoots of discussions around Hurricane Beryl and the destruction that she left in her wake. And today we're going to double back to some other areas that were tackled before. So good morning to you, Mr. Comishong. Good to have you with us.
Good morning, Tisha. It's a pleasure to be here.
As always. So recently you were in St. Martin to deliver a very important address.
Yes, I was invited by the governor of St. Martin, and St. Martin, that small island in the central northern Caribbean that is divided between France and the Netherlands, Holland, an amazing thing, one small island into two colonies. But I was invited by the Dutch side of the island and by the governor, but the governor is a native St. Martiner, and I was happy to go because you remember a few weeks ago we had that discussion about the large number of colonies remaining in the Caribbean. And I had said it's 19. I've since discovered that I missed out Marie Gallant. It's actually 20.
Wow.
So St. Martin is one of those colonies. So I went there with a message, a decolonization message for St. Martin, but packaged within the reparations message. So my message to them is that the non-independent territories have a special reparations argument for independence, in addition to all the other reasons why they should receive reparations. So fundamentally, that was the message I delivered, and it was important because St. Martin has actually applied to become an associate member of CARICOM. So I wanted to encourage that as well, for them to complete that process and become an associate member.
Has there been a poll of sorts among the colonies across the region, particularly the ones who want to become associate or full members of CARICOM, on whether they're ready to move toward independence?
Well, there are different processes in all of these different colonies. Sometimes, yes, sometimes they fight for and they get the opportunity to have a poll. But what is happening now is that the colonial powers, unlike back in the 1960s when our countries got their independence, and there was this sentiment at that time that the correct course of action was independence. Now the colonial powers that seem to want to hold on to these remaining colonies are selling these territories the idea that we have given you have a certain level, limited level of self-governance, and that is acceptable, and you should be satisfied with that. So quite often when they have these votes, sometimes even full independence is not on the table. Sometimes it's about different categories of limited self-governance. And even the terminology has changed now. They hardly speak about colonies anymore. It's associate territory or unincorporated territory or
offshore territories,
department.
All types of terms I've heard.
Euphemisms.
Yeah.
So, but the reparations argument and the reparations logic helps people to cut through all of that fog and really get to the critical issue of self-determination and nationhood. So I went there on a mission really to present that reparations argument for decolonization and nationhood.
And I think what it says too is that reparations is a whole lot more than people tried to make it out to be years ago, because people seem to think that reparations or asking for reparations meant that you were standing around simply asking for money. And, that's the furthest thing from what reparations really represents. So let's listen into a part of your presentation on the reparations package and the fact that you said it must include non-independent territories recovering ownership of their national independence. Let's watch.
One aspect of or component of a reparations package would have to be very specific to St. Martin, based on the specific situation that the African people of St. Martin find themselves in. What am I referring to? Well, you heard it from some of the speakers. Reparations is about taking us back to the situation that would have obtained if the crime had not been committed. The first speaker explained what Africa looked like in pre-colonial days. In Walter Rodney's How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, there's a very famous passage, and let me just quote it quickly. Several historians of Africa have pointed out that after surveying the developed areas of the continent in the 15th century and those within Europe at the same date, the difference between the two was in no way to Africa's discredit. Indeed, the first Europeans to reach West and East Africa by sea were the ones who indicated that in most respects, African development was comparable to that which they knew. To take but one example, when the Dutch visited the city of Benin, they described it thus, quote, "The town seems to be very great. When you enter into it, you go into a great broad street, not paved, which seems to be 7 or 8 times broader than the Warmoes Street in Amsterdam. The King's Palace is a collection of buildings which occupy as much space as the town of Haarlem, and which is enclosed with walls. There are numerous apartments for the princes, ministers, and fine galleries, most of which are as big as those on the Exchange of Amsterdam. They are supported by wooden pillars encased with copper, where their victories are depicted and which are carefully kept very clean. The town is composed of 30 main streets, very straight and 120 feet wide, apart from an infinity of small intersecting streets. The houses are close to one another, arranged in good order. These people are in no way inferior to the Dutch as regards cleanliness. They wash and scrub their houses so well that they are polished and shining like a looking glass. End of quote. That's a Dutch merchant writing about the city of Benin in the 15th century. So if the people of Martinique of St. Martin, have to consider, what does reparations mean to them? Reparations will mean something different. The people of Barbados will have a different conception of reparations than the people of St. Martin, because you are in a different situation. And I would say that one of the components of a reparations package for the people of St. Martin must be to have your own nation, because that's where you started. Before the transatlantic slavery, you were people with nations. You had sovereignty, you had autonomy, you had self-determination.
Well, that's just one part of your presentation, but certainly laying the table for, showing them what really was in effect long before the Dutch even went to Africa.
Because if you go back to the legal definition of reparations, the reparations compensation or repair package is supposed to be designed to put you back in the position you would have been in if the crime had never been committed. The crime was enslavement. So you heard that description of that city-state in Africa before the crime was committed. So the point is, our African ancestors had their own nations. They had autonomy. They had national self-determination. And surely, the African people of St. Martin, their ancestors were brought to that small island. For centuries, they labored on the sugar and cotton plantations and in the salt pond of St. Martin. Surely, after all of that experience, they must be entitled to nationhood. I mean, their future can't be to be a colonial people ruled by a European power. I mean, you go to St. Martin and you see the police officers on the streets of St. Martin, young European, Dutch police officers policing them. So surely, after all that their ancestors have been through, they must be entitled as part of their reparations package. That's why I said it's not relevant to us in Barbados, because we are already an independent nation. But for them, thinking about reparations, first and foremost, has to be a recovery of our nationhood.
And you outlined a 10-point reparations plan that involved fundamental revamping of the international economic order. Can you lay that bare for us?
Well, what I was trying to do, I was trying to present all of the different aspects of reparations. So the first one was this idea of nationhood, which I said, look, this is only relevant to you, the still non-independent territories. That aspect of reparations would not be relevant to the independent countries. But then, in addition to that now, there are these other dimensions of reparations that are relevant to all of us. One of those dimensions is the repair measures that all of us that were subjected to enslavement in the Caribbean are entitled to, and that is captured in the CARICOM 10-point. CARICOM has put forward this 10-point demand for reparations. And then beyond the CARICOM 10-point, there's this developing idea that somebody like Prime Minister Motley has been pushing, that even beyond the CARICOM demands, there's this still broader demand for a restructuring of the international economic order, which grew out of those centuries of enslavement and oppression, and which still is inherently unjust to us. So those are two other aspects that I touched upon. And then finally, the final clip that we will probably play today is the part of reparations that has to do with self-repair.
All right, so before we get to self-repair, let's listen into this 10-point reparations plan that includes a fundamental revamping of the international economic order.
A second aspect or component of a reparations settlement or package, which would be relevant to St. Martin, is the general reparatory justice measures that are appropriate to all of the Caribbean territories, based on our common history of enslavement in the Caribbean. And these measures are captured in CARICOM's 10-point reparatory justice plan. You can Google the plan, but they're all there. We must deal with the educational deficit. We must deal with the health deficit, technology transfer, debt cancellation, a repatriation program for those of our people that wish to physically repatriate to the African continent, a special development plan for the remaining indigenous people who still exist, cultural and psychological rehabilitation based on museums and cultural institutions and so forth to make back that connection with our ancestral African culture. And then thirdly, there's a third aspect or component of what a reparations settlement or package would look like that would be relevant to St. Martin. And these are a set of even broader demands that are aimed at achieving a reparatory justice restructuring of the international economic and political order. Because the truth is, the international economic and political order that exists in the world today has its roots in and grew out of those centuries of colonization and African enslavement. And it is an order that is still structurally unjust. It is an order into which the formerly enslaved black and brown nations and people of the world have been inserted in a structurally subservient and still exploitative manner.
Definitely some very interesting areas to look into as a part of that 10-point reparations plan. When we come back, we back out that particular clip by qualifying some of the statements and the demands in that presentation and talk about self-repair. That's next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb, and together we will travel the world.
From 98.1 to CBC TV8 comes the Soca Avenue, the sweetest soca hour in radio. It's artists with new tunes and some old sweet ones too, jamming on the Soca Avenue. Saturdays, join AON Skills and the crew down on Soca Avenue. All new on CBC TV 8. Feeling the festival.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
My friend, you don't plan to get it. Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Welcome back to Morning Barbados. It's just about 6:20. I don't know what you are up to, but thank you so much for tuning in. Maybe you have a little extra time because the children don't have to rush off to school, or maybe you're getting them off to summer camp. I saw a lot of parents still moving around yesterday. Maybe a new normal. You have to settle into that. They have to wear their own little clothes, and that's totally different from getting them in uniform and so on. So, empathize with you this morning if that's your situation, trying to get things together. We're still here with Ambassador Comishong and talking about a recent presentation he gave at the Governor's Symposium in St. Martin just a little while ago. And the message was specific to decolonization and reparations, maybe geared more to non-independent territories of the Caribbean. So the particular video or part of your presentation that we looked at a moment ago before we went to break, it really honed in on 10 very important areas that you see as part of a 10-point reparations plan. Let's talk about some of the major parts of that presentation.
Well, that's something that all of us in CARICOM should be aware of, because that is the CARICOM 10-point reparations plan. So after we set up this CARICOM Reparations Commission in 2013, one of the first things that commission did is to say, well, what would be a relevant repair package for the CARICOM countries, the Caribbean countries? And so they looked at our condition, what damage did these centuries of enslavement and exploitation do to us. And they said, look, we have a public health problem. We have a problem with diabetes and hypertension and all of that comes out of that experience. So we have to deal with health. We have a problem with education, where that whole colonial, they did not put in place, the kind of educational institutions. So we have tried our best, but that needs to be addressed. Technology transfer, they made it during those centuries of colonialism and enslavement. They went to great lengths to ensure that the colonies did not develop technology, that they remained, the high-tech area, and we would be low-tech, just providing raw materials to them. So we said technology, so CARICOM developed these 10 demands that are relevant to all CARICOM countries. So I was saying to St. Martin, so you have this specific demand about nationhood, which is only relevant to you because you are still non-independent. But then, in addition to that, you share in this CARICOM 10-point plan. And then I went even further. So that's number 2. But then number 3 is an additional aspect of reparations that we are still developing, which is the idea that even beyond these 10 demands, there's an even broader demand for a restructuring, a revamping of the international economic and political order, which has its roots in those centuries of enslavement and colonization, and all the institutions that came out of that are really skewed against us, whether the international financial institutions, World Bank, IMF, even the United Nations, and all the terms of trade, the way international business is conducted is very much to the benefit and advantage of the former colonial powers, the European powers, and still to the disadvantage of the African and Caribbean nations. So that's a new evolving component of reparations. Because bear in mind, reparations is really about how do we repair the damage? How do we reestablish the situation that would have been if the crime had never been committed in the first place? So that's the guiding principle for reparations. And this is why in the Caribbean, we don't think of reparations in terms of like individual money payment. We more think of it, if that crime had not been committed, what kind of development, national, collective development would we have enjoyed and that we are really entitled to today? And how can we, with the help of these wealthy countries that are liable, that are responsible, how could we now put that situation in place?
And to bring home the impacts a little bit more, recently I was watching UETV, and I happened upon a lecture by Sir Hilary, and he was talking about the fact that Caribbean people don't necessarily respond to drugs for non-communicable diseases in the same way that people of African descent in other parts of the world do, owing to maybe factors unknown. And that struck me in an interesting way, because what it says that, being in this part of the world, we have now kind of morphed or developed, certain traits that have kind of distanced us from people of similar heritage from other parts of the world. So even that is important for us to be able to explore so that we can truly take care of self. And this brings us to your third part of the presentation.
Yes, well then so when we look at what is owed to us by the wealthy countries that exploited us, enslaved us, and benefited from that exploitation and enslavement, and we make all our demands directed at them. But then there's a final part of repairing the damage that they can't do, that we have to do for ourselves. And that's the last message I left with the audience in St. Martin was about that final component of self-repair. Yeah.
All right, so let's listen to that part of the presentation. Internal self-repair.
Aspect of reparations that I would want to mention is the self-repair, because, I call us a miracle people. We resisted, we survived the most. We were brought to locations of terrible barbarism and evil, those early slave societies. But we somehow managed to protect our inherent humanity. We didn't allow it to destroy us. We were able to resist, not just physically and militarily, but culturally as well. And we were able to transform those locations of barbarism into meaningful, nurturing, creative human societies, such as the ones that exist in the Caribbean today. And we did it with very little. We are miracle people, creating virtually something out of nothing. And so we are tremendous people, but we do know that every people that go through trauma are somehow marked by that trauma. And so we have to be conscious that we need to also engage as part of reparations in a process of self-repair. It means that we must be willing to look within ourselves, within our own psyches, within our national cultures, and where we discern any elements of notions, vestiges of black inferiority and white superiority, to identify them and to extirpate them, to remove them. So that is part of the job that we have to do. We all struggle with that. We struggle with it in the independent countries. You will struggle with it even more. It'll be even more difficult for you if you remain in a colonial situation. So I can't prescribe for St. Martin, but I can only tell you the Barbados experience. And the Barbados experience is that, you know, our ancestors from 1675 demonstrated that they wanted to recover that autonomy and self-determination that they had on the African continent. And so we see that as a big part of reparations. Thank you very much.
What a presentation. Congratulations on that, first of all, because often when we hear about you leaving Barbados to go to speak, you know, we think that the conversation kind of revolves a lot around, and I've heard these discussions, Caribbean integration on a certain level, these single market and single economy, but there's so much to be covered for the nations of the Caribbean, colonized and otherwise. Had no clue there were still 20, but definitely much to talk about.
Yeah, I am very conscious that our Caribbean is still the most colonized region in the world. And so I play a very conscious role within CARICOM, pushing this and trying to remind us about this, keep us conscious about this. And so I am there really within CARICOM as an advocate for the associate members of CARICOM that are all still non-independent territories. And I'm an advocate for CARICOM doing more to help its associate members, CARICOM being as willing as we possibly can to reach out to the others that are not yet associate members and bring them into the CARICOM fold. So for example, Martinique is knocking on the door. Barbados and me as Barbados' ambassador, we have been very encouraging, and we have tried to be very helpful to Martinique to help them make that transition into associate membership. And I wanted to do the same for St. Martin, because they too have applied to become an associate member. So yes, I'm very much involved in the kind of the nitty-gritty of CARICOM that everybody thinks about, the CSME and all of that. But I'm also pushing CARICOM to even think broader and to have that large historical view of our mission in this region. Our mission must be to totally decolonize our region and unify it, you know, so that we could be a real Caribbean civilization that can stand on its own feet as an area of strength. And finally, that point I was making to them about Barbados and nationhood goes back to the Coffee Rebellion of 1675 in Barbados. 50 years after Barbados was colonized by the British, 50 years, our enslaved ancestors in 1675 said, look, we want our nationhood. So they had come up with an island-wide conspiracy to destroy slavery, to take over the island, and to create a new independent African nation. They had already selected who was to be the king. It was to be King Coffee. They had already carved a stool, a throne, to install him in state. So the point I was making to them is that nationhood has always been, to regain nationhood, has always been an ambition of our enslaved ancestors. And the earliest example of it is actually in Barbados with the King Coffee Rebellion of 1675.
What do you think has moved Caribbean people's level of consciousness to the place where we're seeing so many states now even open to discussion about reparations? Not so long ago, I seem to recall that there wasn't much support for any discussion on reparations, far less a 10-point plan that includes everything that you laid out in your very insightful and thought-provoking, I must say, presentation. So what do you think has moved Caribbean people to this next plane, so to speak?
A lot of hard work by a lot of activists on the ground. I remember when we first got involved with the preparing for the United Nations World Conference Against Racism in 2001, when we started with the preparatory meetings in Chile, the Americas region meeting in 1999. The only two CARICOM delegations there were Barbados and Jamaica, right? So I was there. Prime Minister Motley, back then she was a Minister of Education and Culture, Dr. George Bell, Sir Hilary Beckles. We did a lot of work from the Barbados side, and then the Jamaicans also did work. Ambassador Dudley Thompson, who was now passed on. So yes, a lot of hard activism, a lot of brilliant scholarship by people like Sir Hilary and Professor Vereen Shepherd and so forth, writing, researching the history, writing the history books such as Britain's Black Debt, how Britain underdeveloped the Caribbean, and of course we even go back further, the great Walter Rodney with his classic, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, which has always provided guidance for us from way back in the 1970s. So I would have to credit the unrelenting work of our activists and our scholars.
Absolutely, and I mean the work continues. I must say that I reached out to the University of the West Indies just last week about a project, and I had a conversation with Dr. Carter, and I mean immediately he jumped on board, no questions. Really asked without any great detail. They're always willing to share in the history department,
yeah.
to share, get out, and unearth whatever has been hiding or is waiting to be unearthed for us to be really able to kind of get a hold on our history.
I call scholars like Dr. Henderson Carter, these are public intellectuals. Yeah. These are scholars who are always willing to put their scholarship at the service of the wider community. People like Trevor Marshall, even before him, people like Ralph Gonzalez when he was a lecturer here in Barbados, Neville Duncan. There are those special, in another field, economics, Wendell McLean, for example. Sir Hilary when he was a scholar here in Barbados. So there are those special scholars who recognize that they are not only to function within the academy, but they must put their knowledge and their scholarship at the service of the wider community.
You just brought back all kinds of memories when you said Neville Duncan, plus the accent. So, very interesting stuff, but it's wonderful that we are indeed having these conversations. Next steps, though, because we have indeed been able to present to an international audience. There's much discussion here in Barbados and in other parts of the region on what we need to do. But we're still seeing the fallout in neighboring Haiti with all that's happening based on what we know from history. So next steps, what do we do next?
Well, we have a pretty clear vision in CARICOM of where we need to go. We have worked out what our CARICOM Reparations Commission, the part of the work that they need to take charge of, and they are chaired by Sir Hilary Beckles, mind you. We have looked at our Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on Reparations, and we have worked out what part of the agenda they must take charge of. That's chaired by Prime Minister Motley. Barbados is the permanent chair of that commission. We have also worked out that we must develop this partnership with Africa. We must, because there's so much benefit if we can bring Africa with us, with all the weight and power of the African continent, all those member states. So we have a pretty good idea, Tisha, of where we need to go. It is now for us to do it. Part of, I would say part of our problem is that we struggle with limited resources. So for example, I would say that the CARICOM Reparations Commission is really under-resourced. It needs financial resources. It needs human resources to do all the things that we want it to do. So I think we're still struggling with that, which is typical within CARICOM, right? We always, we have a very big agenda, but we don't always have the resources that we need to carry out the agenda. But I don't think we have the time for me to go into all the aspects, but we have worked out the CARICOM Reparations Commission. They must deal with below the level of the national governments, because they really can't talk to prime ministers and presidents and so forth, but dealing with whether it's the Anglican Church, the universities that were all implicated in enslavement, they're the ones who must deal with all of those institutions, and they have to work out principles for reparations. So people can't just jump up and say, we are giving you this. No, principles must be worked out, a methodology. How do we arrive at what needs to be given? That's for institutions and families, etc. But at the higher level now of national governments, which is really the main claim for reparations, the national governments of Europe, for example, and we have identified 10 who were implicated. That's work that the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee, because they have to talk to their peers, they have to talk to European heads of government. So we have a pretty clear idea, but the more difficult part is then to put it into operation.
Absolutely. I want to thank you for coming in. As always good to have you with us every week, but I know that you have a lot on your plate as well. So you're often traveling and sharing these messages that need to be shared so that we get some movement on a lot of the things that we need across the region. Top of the list, development, so that we're not in a place where, we're constantly utilizing funds earmarked for development in a way that we have to repair based on what's happening in the natural environment. So again, thanks for your time today.
It's been my pleasure as per usual. I look forward to next week's conversation.
Excellent. Remember, you can reach out to us if there is something you'd love for us to cover, or if you have any questions for the ambassador, email us morningbarbados@cbc.bb, and we most certainly will share. It's time for a break here on Morning Barbados. The time has moved on to 18 minutes before the 7 o'clock hour, but stay with us as we move toward the top of the hour because we have lots more to come.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb.
Welcome to the Crop Over Sweet Spot, your go-to show for all things Crop Over 2024. We'll dive into the big issues of the day with exclusive interviews with the entertainers, the experts, the movers and shakers of the festival, plus you, the audience. Get to join the conversation and share your views. Tune in to CBC TV 8 every Friday night for the ultimate Crop Over experience with yours truly, the Admiral. We're big on everything Crop Over 2024. The Crop Over Sweet Spot, brought to you with the kind compliments of Axel Finance.
Tune in every Friday at 6 p.m. to see me, Chrissy D, on Fashion Flair on CBC TV.
Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 6:44 as the clock continues to tick. I mean, like, time waits for no man or a woman. So we definitely have to get moving and get what you need to do done. Yeah? No procrastinating today, all right? We have to be a lot more like Christopher Mon. I have to go ahead and say a special good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
And they have you titled as an AV specialist. And, you know, being me, I said, what's an AV specialist, Chris? Because it's so limiting to classify you as such. But it's wonderful to have you on Morning Barbados.
Thank you so much for having
Today,
me.
absolutely, to share. And that's what this program is all about. It's about highlighting wonderful work that Barbadians are doing. And I don't even like the term average Barbadians, because there's no Barbadian I've ever met who is average. Everybody has this amazing story, and we're all really good storytellers as well in our own right. So let's talk about your journey and where it began, with audiovisual being the destination and music being the start of your journey. Take us on that trip.
All right, so I started out as a singer, actually, when I was in the 2006 Party Monarch band as a background vocalist. And I remember I wanted to learn to play keyboards because I felt, you know, that I mean, I could play a bit at the time, but I just wanted to learn a bit more. And we went to go buy a keyboard, and it was expensive. So I ended up just saying, well, let me try this other place and see if I can get a lot more equipment. So I ended up getting some recording equipment, plus a MIDI controller and everything. And that's where it started for the recording studio. I had a little room in my dad's house. And funny enough, the new studio is still there, but it's in a different place. But yeah, that's how it all started.
Yeah, backing vocals, how did you get into that part of things? Because I understand you were part of choirs and so on before that, but then moving from a choir to backing vocals in the Party Monarch band, it's a big step.
Well, firstly, shout out to Indra, because at the time I was working with her, so I would do some vocal training with her, and she would have connected me with Peter Coppin and those guys. Well, while she would do her backgrounds, they would ask, you know, if she knows anybody that could do background vocals as a male. So I then became the guy to do it, and then that's how I got into the Party Monarch band. She would have also assisted me with that. So yeah, grateful to her for that. So then, as time went on, I didn't do background vocals anymore. I ended up actually going away in 2008 to learn more about audio recording and music production. So it took me to Australia, where I spent 2 years there doing my bachelor's in music production, and I came back in 2010.
What kind of got you into that area? I know you talked about the equipment that you happened upon because it was cheaper than the other
just getting a full
that you
keyboard,
wanted.
yeah.
But what made you go specifically in that direction, do your bachelor's degree in music production?
Right, so I've always been a shy person, right? So I think with regard to singing and stuff like that, I just always wanted to be in the background. Always felt like I can make people sound better, or I wanted to see if I could make my own music, you know. So it was a transition from me being on stage to me now helping others do what they wanted to do. So that's where the transition came.
What was the studying like in Australia, the other part of the world?
Yeah, Australia was actually a culture shock, you know. They have a lot of differences to Barbados for obvious reasons, but firstly, there is pretty much everything in Australia can kill you. So whether it's, so I mean, from spiders to snakes to whatever it is, you know, here we don't have any of that. So for me, learning in the studio, up there, everything was analog. You know, you started learning the recording. So whereas here in Barbados, we would do everything in the computer, over there you started recording everything. So the band would come in with their guitar and plug into the mixer, and they would do everything analog, right? So it's only later down in the term you actually get into the computer programming and stuff like that for music production, right? So I felt that really gave me a good look into what we need to be looking at, because a lot of times we don't really spend a lot of time understanding how audio works and how to properly record a voice and stuff like that. So looking at it from that side, from starting there and going forward, you really got an appreciation for mic choice and how the vocalist needs to stand and all those things. So yeah.
That's so interesting. Because I mean, even as we look back at old videos here in this CBC Studio A, which has gone through many iterations of Studio A, we see people like the late Vic Brewster and so on recording bands, the very early bands here in Barbados, and going through exactly what you talk about, you know, taking it from the analog stage and not necessarily jumping straight into the digital. And that music, the sound was simply something amazing. So to hear that you were immersed in a program that kind of took you back there, not only in theory, but in practical form as well, is very interesting. And how did that set you up to kind of want to involve other aspects of production? Because following that, you kind of developed a studio and then moved into not only music production, but you integrated video as well.
Right. Okay, so on the studio side, it took a while for me to get back into to invest in the studio, because anybody that has a studio can tell you equipment is not cheap, especially good equipment. So what I really wanted to do was firstly put myself in a position where I can afford to invest in a studio that is going to bring like world-class sound, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people invest in like microphones, or they would buy a really expensive microphone and a really expensive piece of converters or something like that. But to be honest, you really need to invest in your acoustics and your speakers. Those are the main two things you should really be investing in, because that's what you're interfacing with. That's what's going to tell you if it sounds good or not. So if you invest in everything else and really just leave your acoustics and your speakers for last, what you think you're hearing, you're not really hearing. So you end up processing or EQing the wrong things because you think there's a big bump at, say 200 hertz, when that's just your room that has a problem in the 200 hertz region. So if you treat your room, a lot of those things can be removed or dealt with, so you can make better decisions in the recording and the mixing process.
All right, who are some of the artists or people that you've worked with throughout the years after coming back, moving away from that initial little studio in Dad's home to, you know, a bigger space where you've been able to kind of handpick, and I know what it is to be able to handpick things that you want for your studio or your workspace. Really makes a difference in how you then feel about engaging in that space.
Okay, so for me, I have reduced my role in the studio to just a mastering engineer. So I would have mastered some stuff for J. Cole before, J. Cole and King Servant. Done some stuff for Philip 7 and my wife, of course. So because my other business is very hectic, I really don't get much time to be in the studio itself. But what I wanted to do, and what I'm doing, is working with other producers such as Just J and Darren Bailey and Day, or Daisy, who's
depends on the day of the week.
Right? Who utilize the space and can understand what I was going for. And not only is it just world-class sound in terms of stereo, but I am almost finished doing the full Dolby Atmos or spatial audio, which is where the world is going, right? So yes, you can mix in headphones, but having, currently I have 9 speakers around, and then I'm putting another 4 in the ceiling. And they are a brand that's very, very well known in terms of the high end of audio in the world. So when I'm finished, you'll be able to take your stereo tracks and then up mix them or mix them in Dolby Atmos to be able to go on to Apple Music and Tidal and these other streaming platforms that require now. They're at that stage where they're requiring you to produce an Atmos mix.
Do you think that education develops that ear that some producers have for making incredible music that's accepted across the world? Is that something that can be acquired through education? So in other words, do you think it can be taught, or do you think this is something that's inborn?
Well, firstly, I teach as well. So I teach audio, recording, music production. But I think in terms of being taught, you can be taught how to use tools, right? At the end of the day, a lot of your creativity has to do with something you're born with, as well as what you can see from others and what you can implement on how you use these tools, right? So I can show you how to go about looking at an EQ, or how to go about looking at compression, or how to go about these things, and give you different tips and ideas on how to creatively use them. But it's up to the person whether it's something that they've seen before or something they just said, you know, let me try this, and that is very important as well in the process. But I think creativity is something that you can't really teach. It's something that comes from within. But once the person knows how to use the tools, right, in a way to get a result that they want, that's what you really want, and that's how you're going to get people doing their best work.
You just give me a yes or no.
Yes, I give you a yes and a no. I give a yes and a no, because I mean, look, your creativity, I think is a very vast topic, to be honest, because your creativity is subject to the tools that you have around you. So somebody that has 3 colors, right? 3 primary colors can make a piece of artwork, but then somebody that has not only 3 primary colors, but have a whole host of different tools around them, or different brush types, or different canvases, different things, can be a lot more creative than the person that just has those 3 things on one brush, you know what I mean? So now, when I say creative, I mean in the result of the artwork. But the person with just the 3 paints could be more creative than the other person. But depending on how they go about using their tools, they can get something even better or less better. But I mean, it's really up to the person and what they do.
Yeah, that's a really great analogy, though, because it really kind of hammers home that you're limited in what you can do based on your resources, what's available, what's available to you. In talking about the persons whom you've worked with, they all have a very unique sound. So do you aspire to work with a certain sound? I know you started with the Party Monarch Band, but here you are. Even Just Jay, and the music that Just Jay does is not clear cut what you're accustomed to as in soca music. I was sharing with Joanna earlier this morning the one that he did with Grateful Cole. You know, just a new, fresh, collaborative sound. Same for J. Cole, same for King's Servants, same for Daisy. So do you aspire to work with a certain sound, or has it just worked out that way?
It just worked out that way, to be honest. I provide a space, and you find that people that really appreciate high quality spaces and really understand what I'm trying to accomplish with this space would tend to gravitate towards it and utilize it for what it's good for.
All right, good stuff. Your main business is Sonics, which is audiovisual solution.
Yes.
So interesting stuff.
Yeah, so Sonics is, we do residential and commercial audiovisual solutions. So on the residential side, we would do your IT or your the Wi-Fi. We would do audio distribution. So say like you want some music on your patio as well as in the kitchen. You want to play it all over. You want to do a home theater or a cinema. We can do all of that. We can also do like alarms and intercoms, press a button, let somebody in. Those things, that's on the residential side. On the commercial side, we do like conference rooms and boardrooms and PA systems for churches. Or so some of my clients for the commercial side would be like Kensington Oval. So we would have done the audio distribution for the stands. We have a couple of others.
Listen, you're doing fantastic work, Christopher, and it's just amazing to see how starting as, in music and, as a backing vocalist has kind of led you on a path to where you are, but brings it all back to kind of where we started, the ear. Once you have that ear for it and the right tools, then you can make it happen. So, you are our kudos to this morning go out to you as we continue to salute Barbadians doing great things. And what we want to do at Crop Over is not only highlight those people that you see kind of in front of the mics who are performing, but all the people who are behind the scenes making it happen as well. So, it's definitely a team effort. When you hear a track, you see a video, or you sit in Kensington Oval and hear that amazing sound with the commentators, the commentary team and the music, you know that there are people who are behind it. So thanks for your time, Christopher.
Thank you so much for having me.
All the best. We look forward to hearing more. Remember that name, all right? Time for another break here on Morning Barbados. Stay with me.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Tune in every Friday at 6 p.m. to see me, Chrissy D, on Fashion Flair on CBC TV8. I'll be bringing you the latest fashion trends, fashion ends, and everything in between. Get ready to transform your style, get inspired, and elevate your fashion game with the ultimate guide to looking fabulous. Join me, Chrissy D, this Friday on CBC TV8 at 6 p.m. for an exciting episode of Fashion Flair.
The ultimate cricket showdown is coming to ESPN, and MCTV has got you covered. The ICC Cricket World Cup 2024 is here on ESPN and MCTV. Tune into MCTV channels 302 and 308, and don't miss a single six, wicket, or heart-pounding moment as top teams vie for the 2024 T20 World Cup. From June 1st to 29th, it's cricket you can't afford to miss. Tune into ESPN on MCTV, and for live radio coverage, tune into 94.7. Catch every moment of the ICC Cricket World Cup T20 action.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 7:03 on this July 16th. It's time for an update of the news. Prime Minister Mia Motley is calling on Barbadians to band together and combat the tendency towards violence and the inability to resolve conflict peacefully. In a message to the nation, Prime Minister Motley said, "We are seeing a scourge of gangs fighting for dominance and territory alongside increasing incidences of mental and physical abuse."
These matters are made worse by other issues that we must consciously control as leaders, wherever we are, whether as parents or guardians and godparents, or indeed extended family or neighbors, friends, employers, members of the community, sporting or cultural groups in which we interact. And we must do so whether in our homes, our place of work, or businesses. And indeed, we must do so where we worship, in our churches, our mosques, our temples, wherever we go for religious or spiritual worship. We must immediately address the absence of religious and moral grounding of our children. We have talked about it for too long without serious progress.
Prime Minister Motley is also appealing to Barbadians to pause for 5 minutes at midday this coming Saturday for silent reflection. She says this will send a signal that the majority of Barbadians want a peaceful Barbados.
I ask now every Barbadian, each of us, to pause for 5 minutes this Saturday, July 20th at midday, for silent reflection wherever we are, whatever we are doing, other than, of course, the essential services. I know it is crop over, and I know it is Kiddies Kaduman. But it is important that we pause and reflect for 5 minutes, even in Kiddies Kaduman at midday, to send a signal that the majority of us want to build a common peace. We want a peaceful Barbados, and that we are committed to stepping up and putting in the hard work towards it. I equally ask our radio and television stations to pause for this 5 minutes period and to play appropriate music for reflection, to be able to encourage the building of a common peace in this country.
21 young people have now graduated to being Master of Ceremonies after the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment completed a Youth MC training program. Cohort 2 began on April 27th of this year and was overseen by Captain Michael Jules and Joel Ford, and saw the participants completing 6 modules in 30 contact hours. Speaking at the graduation was Minister of Sports, Youth and Community Empowerment, Charles Griffith. In his speech, he asked the participants not to just take in the training, but now they've finished, he hopes they would make it into a business.
Suggesting that you either pair up or you come together in threes and starts an MC Inc. and you send your information to business houses, you send your information to the ministries, indicating that you're at a level that you can MC their program. So I don't want you to treat this as just you did a program and that's it. Ministry, and I've mandated all of my programs, and we have about 6 or 7 or 8 different programs that are pitched at the national level, that either both or one of the MCs will come from your right. So you will get the exposure as a result of the ministry.
Minister Griffith also promised the participants to assist in any additional help.
You cannot be involved in this and then you don't grow. The thing is for you to advance yourself, and this is where self-help will come in now. And Captain, I've noted your concern, and my co-pilot and I, the PS, will ensure that the program is either longer or that we have a part 2, that you can do what you're supposed to do with these services. It will happen for sure.
There are new rules to ensure customers have ease of access and transparency when conducting business with banks, like opening and closing accounts. The mandatory Central Bank of Barbados market conduct guidance for commercial banks and finance companies, which came into effect last Friday, was officially launched yesterday. They address 5 areas, which also include customer complaints. Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Kevin Greenidge, explains the toolkit speaks to the licenses under the Central Bank. He says consultations were conducted before a draft bill was created, and those with disabilities were also included.
Anything that brings greater transparency, I would like you to have more persons wanting to partake in the game. You shy away when you think, one, I'm not sure what's going on, this is not clear. Anything can be charged against me, here, you're going to stay away. Anything that brings fairness, you say, okay, I understand where you're coming from as an institution, you have to make a reasonable return, and I recognize I got to pay for service, and it's reasonable. You think it's fair, you will participate. So anything that increases transparency and fairness within the financial market will see an increase in participation.
Now, a phased approach will be adopted on a case-by-case basis for those banking institutions that now have to implement aspects of that guidelines. Senior Director with responsibility for bank supervision, Cheryl Greenidge, urges customers to fully exhaust all avenues in respect to disputes. She says they should send full details to her department so that when they engage with the financial institution, they can do so from an informed position. However, she made it clear once legal action is taken, the central bank will not intervene.
Of course, if that is not resolved to the customer's satisfaction, then they can approach the central bank. We have for some time been dealing with complaints that do come to the department. So we, in a way, try to intermediate between the customer and the financial institution. And the same approach will be taken when it comes to issues relating to the market conduct guideline.
Customers are asked to visit the bank's website to get all relevant information. As the 2024 crop over season heats up, road safety advocate Roland Lowe is pleading with partygoers who plan on consuming alcoholic beverages to have a designated driver. Mr. Lowe, president of the Barbados Road Safety Association, tells CBC News it's important people follow his advice to avoid road accidents and fatalities this crop over season and beyond.
Not only a responsibility for your own self, but for other persons on the road as well, because then you become inebriated and then driving the vehicle. It might not be you who loses their life, but then become involved in an accident or collision with another vehicle, and then somebody else might lose their life. So it's a responsibility not just for yourself, but for other road users as well.
Now, while Barbados recorded its 11th road fatality for the year over the weekend, Mr. Lowe says he believes Barbadians generally obey road rules. He says road users who do not follow rules and regulations need to start doing so.
As of utilizing the roundabout, that's something that I guess people hear me mentioning all the time because it's one of my pet peeves, I guess. Persons changing lanes at the mouth of the roundabout. That's something that you don't want to see because that's something that can cause accidents on the road. Not adhering to the speed limits, that's one too. You don't want you going above the speed limit. Speed limits are there for a reason because you go above the speed limit, it's more difficult for you to control your vehicle. And the speed limits are different. Something that we need to mention to it because I don't think that everybody knows it. The speed limit is different for motor cars as compared to trucks.
12 after 7 now for Peak at Sports. Weymouth Whales are once again knockout football kings of Barbados. The defending champs captured another BFA Champions Cup title at the Wildy Turf when they thrashed Deacons in the final. Meantime, UWI Blackbirds defeated Wotton to secure third place. CBC's Anmar Goodrich-Boyce was there.
Third place action up first. UWI Blackbirds and the Black Tops are already leading 1-0 against Wotton. Midway through the first half, Wotton in search of the equalizer. Renico Marshall taking matters into his own hand with the solo run, and a neat finish makes it all squared. Second half now, Wotton threatening down the left flank. Cross along the carpet is perfect, and Jabari Papi Chandler arrives in time to touch it home. Wotton now ahead 2-1. Having surrendered their lead, UWI were determined to get back into the contest, and this perhaps was the goal of the match. Christopher Archer's strike is clever. The score now level at 2-2. UWI then regained their advantage in the 77th minute. Nice build-up allows Shamari Harewood to collect his second of the night. That's too easy. And Harewood completed a brilliant hat-trick 5 minutes from time, dancing on the edge of the box before the right foot cannon nestles into the back of the net as UWI were 4-2 winners over Wotton. To the main event now, the big final, $50,000 up for grabs. Defending champions Weymouth Whales in green taking on Deacons. 15 minutes on the clock, corner for Wales, and it's eventually turned home by Andre Applewhite. Routine stuff, Wales ahead. And it went from bad to worse for Deacons just before halftime. Applewhite in hot pursuit, driving forward and plays a perfect ball to Shaquille Stewart. Nutmeg time through the keeper's legs, 2-0, and it's a mountain to climb for the boys from the farm. 2 minutes after the interval, Wales went ahead 3-0. MVP and Golden Boot winner Nadre Butcher enters the chat and finishes neat to Kevin Allsup's near post. The contest was already over, and it was a matter of how many Wales would get. Butcher is allowed to collect his brace He had to put on his dancing shoes. Wills cruising at 4-0. Late into the match, and it's consolation time for Deacons. This is a lovely move, deserving of a goal, and they got it. Shaquan Haynes is on target. Wills wrapped up another phenomenal night where Rashad Smith produced a spectacular, and that's how it ended. Wills 5, Deacons 1, and Wills marched on to defend their crown as champions. And Mark Goodrich Boyce, CBC Sports.
That really was a thrashing. Well, if you want more details, more news, it's coming your way here on TV8, just around 12 o'clock this afternoon for Newsday. We also have the CBC News World at 1 on our radio network of stations, 98.1 FM, 94.7 FM, and 100.7 FM coming up at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Just about 15 minutes after 7, time for a break here on Morning Barbados, but we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. You know, it's a different feeling altogether.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
You know why?
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
7:17 on the nose. Good to have you in company with us today. And there are so many people who, you know, they get caught up with doing stuff late at night, and then they have an early morning appointment to go see somebody. They're like, I'm here, but barely up. Good morning to you, Day.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
I think I first met you, it was like maybe back in 2014.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, 2014 or thereabouts. Here we are 10 years later. Yeah?
Looking beautiful. You're still young.
She's speaking for herself. Who's that off to the side laughing so hard? Why y'all laughing so hard? Thank you very much, Dee. I have a crew here. They're not nice to me sometimes. You know, They gave me a rock as a present yesterday.
Oh,
you know, there are some people who give you a compliment and snatch it right back.
Oh, Lord.
And this morning they said, Tisha, the rock looks better than you. Horrible, man. Ruel, Nadia, Peter, Chris, trumping up support.
That's
all
how
around.
Some people show love.
Not nice at all. That's how they show love?
That's how some people show love.
Oh my goodness, we'll talk about that. But of course, he said it's not about love, it's just the truth. That's what, they're bad. You know, I'm so lucky to be sitting here with you.
Yeah, I can give you a little compliment.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right. You see that level of bad behavior on live TV? Anyways, let's get back to the matter at hand. We're talking about the Pink Pen Project,
yes,
and I was so pleased, even just hearing the title, because you'd know as somebody who is deep into marketing and communications that it is often difficult to find a title that summarizes exactly what you're doing. But once you do, I mean, there's no turning back.
Gone clear.
And when you think about the Pink Pen Project, you know, that's a title that does just what it needs to do. Conjure up just the right amount of emotion and tell you exactly what it's about. So let's kind of break it down and talk about how it came about and the role that you're playing in this project.
Well, I have to give all the flowers to Shanna Hines, also Pull the Trigger, boom. It really is her project in collaboration with the NCF. And so the NCF hit me up and said, we want to do an album that's all female. And I said yes immediately because of the all female part. I love working with women. Women, apart from being talented and all of that, the quality of work you get out of women, I find, is just incredible. So I was excited at the prospect of getting more tracks in with the ladies and just seeing what new artists are doing and so on. So that opportunity was great for me because I was able to get some Afro-fusion ideas that I just had in my head that, you know, I didn't get them out as yet. So I was able to share those with the artists. And then I was able to meet newer artists that I hadn't met. So for example, Carissa, Renice, work with them, Ahanje. But then I got to work with people that I've known for years and years and years, like Shanta and Ria Lane. So I thoroughly enjoyed the process, and the album is out, it's available everywhere. And I think people will be truly impressed by what the ladies did. The main mission of this project was to get the female artists to really dive into writing their own songs. Because when you write your song, you have a lot more control over the direction of it. It can represent you as an artist more, and you get more money. The songwriters is making money. So yeah, that's what we really want to push the ladies to do.
You worked on 5 of the 9 songs.
Yeah.
That's not easy feat, particularly when you're kind of working on the same project.
Yeah.
Different artists, yes, but you still want to make sure that you keep them authentic, that they're representing their true selves.
Correct.
So talk to me about being able to kind of navigate that space with so many different artists and personalities and tastes. Yeah.
Well, how they structured it, I submitted about 10 tracks. So finding the 10 tracks that were all different enough, that was the challenge. But again, I was coming from a place of having put down production for a little while, so I had tons of ideas just ready that I wanted to try. And then the ladies were able to choose the production that resonated with them. So that cut out some of the tension of having to decide if they like it or not, because they came in saying, yeah, I want to work on this track. And all the ladies were lovely. I'm not gonna lie to you, it wasn't a big feat to work with them. Everybody was a good vibe and just excited for the opportunity. And then a lot of those artists performed at La Femme, which was a show produced by Nikita, and they had 18 female artists. So right now it seems like the summer pink. It kind of like the summer feeling.
It's pink. A hot girl summer.
Yeah, the body's out.
For sure. And this kind of feeds into the Afro-Caribbean movement. So how does that tie into your music and the tracks that you shared, this album, and how you've been able to work with the Pink Pen project?
Yeah. So about 2 years ago, I started what was then Afro-Barbados, and it grew now to Afro-Caribbean. And so basically, one of my passions is reconnecting Bajans with Africans, West African, whoever. Just that continent is full of so much diversity, and having been able to visit, you recognize how much we are all family. We're all one. We're all family. And if we were to get together and know each other, there's so much that we could learn about ourselves, which I think helps us as a culture to grow. I know we want to develop the Republic and our sense of identity and all of that. And I think that going back to Africa is a good place to start. And I say go back to reluctantly, because really and truly, if you study it, anything Africa right now is the future. So yeah, I'm passionate about that. And so we started with events. I felt like the lowest hanging fruit. If you are a descendant of Africa, you love music. You love to dance, you hear it, you can move. So I know music brings people together. So I just using that tool to bring the people together, and then organically, I'm sure that coming out of that will be more business, more familiar relationships. Somebody can get married to a Ghanaian or a Nigerian, and we can come together a lot more. And I think what that will do for us as a race will be, we don't even know yet.
All right, so this project is kind of all-encompassing.
Yeah.
So you have the ladies performing the tracks, you have coming out of that an album, which is available. Obviously, they're performing these songs, but you're also going to offer a workshop so that they're able to kind of build on that knowledge that they already have.
So right now in Barbados, we have one of Nigeria's best music producers. And she's a female, so, you know, again, working with the ladies. And this is someone, when I was about to turn 30, I said, I really want to spend my birthday in Nigeria and I want to make music. I knew what I wanted to do. So about 2 years before that, I went on Instagram and I was trying to find people that I could probably connect with, and Duni was one of those people. And since then till now, we just locked in. We did a track called Fall On Me. The production for that was featured in Ciroc. And then we also did a track with Chantel called House Party, and that was an NFT that was successful. So we're just carrying on the work. So a lot of artists are going to be able to work with Duni while she's here for 3 weeks, and I'm ready for the products of those. Last night we were in a session with Chantel, and the song sounds sweet. I ain't gonna lie to you, it sounded like a hit. So we're hoping for many more hits, and when we get those songs, then it creates more opportunities for Bajan artists, because then they have a wider audience. It's a whole new market. We always think America, LA, New York, but Africa, huge. You know, and if you can get a song placed over there or a collaboration, that's millions of people, as long as the song is successful. So that's my vision for Bajan artists. I think it's an avenue that we should explore.
And I mean, if you're able to make connections with people who have connections, that helps as well, because when we talk about Duni, there's a long list, really a laundry list of names that she's been able to work with, who are now household names. When you talk about not only about Afro beats, but world music generally. So, you know, that can only play into making whatever she puts her hand on that much more visible.
Correct. And what I love about what we're doing right now is that while she's here, everybody back home is just watching, like, why are you in Barbados? What's going on? So anything that she does is really going to highlight the different people that she meets, and I'm excited for where that can go. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Good stuff, man. There's a lot going on. So I give you all excuses for being a little tired, putting in all of that extra work. So who gets to be a part of the workshop?
So we've invited various artists that I see going down the Afro line, or people who've expressed to me that they wanted to dive into that a little bit. There's only 3 weeks, so you know, it's a short list of curated artists. I don't want to say too much, because when the album come or the rhythm come, I want it all to feel fresh and like a surprise. But like I said, we were in the studio last night with Chantel, and it's that caliber of artists that we want to continue working with.
For a long time, we were just kind of making music without having, you know, those 2 letters kind of behind it, IP. You sort of said just now, it could have been taken in jest, but very, very seriously. You said, you know, write more, because that's where the money is. It belongs to you. That's the reality. And working with Chantel, we know that her song was picked up, for example, by the Obama campaign a few years ago for his Yes We Can campaign and so on. And even Duni, she's worked on a number of very, very visible campaigns through the years. So to be able to capitalize on that, even outside of just making music, to a place where someone can share with you about how you can truly, you know, capitalize on your craft by maybe shopping it to brands. And, you know, being able to use it for movies. And all of the other ways that you can use music.
You need to be an artist manager or something, because you know what's going on.
I would be here sleeping with you, it can't happen.
Yeah, you know what's going on. Yeah, that's our thinking. A lot of the music that we're going to produce, we're looking to get it synced up with TV shows, movies, just really go that route. Because again, I would love for Bajan artists to be able to make a living off of what they do, and to make profits that are comparable to their peers, because we're equally as talented. It's just we're a bit removed from some of the opportunities. So I'm just trying to bring the opportunities to us. the opportunity is now in Barbados. Dooney is here, and she's going to have a great time.
And your Afro-X camp is kind of expanding and exploding. I know you brought us an amazing Caribbean artist.
Yeah. Kev
a little while ago.
Yeah.
Is he back for crop over? I mean,
he actually gallivanting out in the world.
Not gallivanting.
Yeah.
If he has a new song called Gallivanting, I was listening to it yesterday. I was like, not gallivanting. I love it. That was my mother's favorite word. If you wanted to go anywhere, you want to go gallivanting.
Yeah, man, he's out there. He's doing great. He's really doing great. So I like to pick them out. I feel like I have a good eye for that. And so anyone I bring here, I'm sure that in 5-10 years, going to be a big name. And when they come back, we're going to be popping bottles and say, yeah, we made it. Another 10 years.
And a good ear. I talked to Christopher about that as well. You know, it calls for being able to kind of hear something, because these people have something that you often can't explain, but you just know.
You just know.
You just know for some reason. Unexplainable, but you know.
Yeah, and it's funny you say Chris, because his studio Immersive, that's my new home. And I'm a little worried because I feel like more people are going to start to want to book it, and then they're not going to get in.
She's selfish.
Yes, because I love that studio. The space is amazing, and they're actually like the official sponsor for the camp as well. So a lot of our final vocals will be recorded at Immersive and mixed and mastered at Immersive.
How important is that to the final product? Just being in a space that, you know, you can kind of immerse yourself, no pun intended, into what you're doing and be really comfortable and at home.
Let's put it this way. I have a good couple of those spaces because I think it's crucial. I don't think creatives, we're wired differently, and we need those spaces to really tap into the energy. It's an energy thing. And so his space is beautiful for that. And also, like he was saying, you know, just the tools. You're going to get a better quality product as long as you have the tools that are going to facilitate the creativity that you naturally have.
All right, that's beautiful. Anybody you're looking toward? I know you just mentioned that you worked on 5 of the 9 tracks with the Pink Pen Project CD. No, actually, but, you know, I still like saying CD because, you know, they're bringing
Cassettes?
They're not cassettes. They're bringing back records.
Yeah, vinyl.
Like, what?
That's how we are, you know?
You know, I want to hear that you bring vinyl back when, you know, I'm old and the criminal saying, oh, I remember when. This was like 20 years ago, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're bringing vinyl back. But, you know, are there any other artists out there that you have that eye on, that you're listening to, that you're thinking, I'd love to work with this person?
Yeah, there are a couple. I'm not going to lie, sometimes I get nervous because you meet an artist and it's not exactly what you thought. But there's an artist in Nigeria called Tenny. Again, a female artist, but she is so amazing. A lot of Nigerians, to be honest, feels. These are people that I'm really inspired by how they produce, write. They are the artists as well. They do the graphics. So because I am one of those types, like multi-talented, I like to work with people like that because it pushes me. You know, sometimes being how I am, people tell you, no, you have to focus, you have to do one thing. So I take inspiration from people who do the many things and do it well.
All right, she's multitasking. You know, they say you can't. But she's proving people wrong.
Yeah, I'm proving myself right.
She's proving herself
I'm going
right.
for the vision.
She's doing the juggle. She's juggling everything, but doing it in a fantastic way. And very happy to hear that you're able to kind of, you know, grab what you're doing with both hands and kind of show the world your work through this project, the Afro-X Caribbean project. And being a part of the Pink Pen project is major as well. Shout outs to Shanna Hines. Good morning. Yeah, I love me some Shanna.
Yeah, Shanna is a vibe.
First time I saw Shanna on TV with Ras with that show, I was like, where did Kevin Hines find her? I love it. All right, so good to have you with us today.
Nice
good
to be
see you
back.
as always.
Thanks for having me.
All right, good stuff. So look out for Day. You know, inquire more about the Pink Pen Project. Make sure you support those songs and the ladies that are a part of the project as well. And kudos to you as well, Shanna Hines, for a fantastic idea. Execution on point from the NCF as well. All right, time for another break. When we come back, We're talking community activism as we get to the end of today's Morning Barbados presentation.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb, and together we will travel the world.
From 98.1 to CBC TV8 comes the Soca Avenue, the sweetest soca hour in radio. It's artists with new tunes and some old sweet ones too, jamming on the Soca Avenue. Saturdays, join AON Skills and the crew down on Soca Avenue, all new on CBC TV8. Feeling the festival.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison Scale.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
24 minutes to go before the 8 o'clock hour. I love when my neighbors come to visit, especially from next door in the Pine. Good morning, Ivan.
Good morning to you, Keisha. Good morning to the nation, too. The entire nation, you know.
Ivan, I'm going to have to, I'm going to ask the guys to print a form that reviews our friendship, because I drove by you the other day and I was beeping her, waving, and you were looking like, who's this crazy woman waving at me in this car? You only know me in the studio?
No, Keisha. I know you. You see me in Barbados, I can't walk the streets. When I walk the streets.
Oh, you're too popular.
Well, let me put it that way. But someone always stopping me and saying
yeah,
something.
So like superstar status. So you were like, oh, maybe one of my fans kind of thing.
Yeah, you're one of my favorite fans. For sure.
I'm one of your favorite fans.
And I'm one of your favorite fans.
All right, good stuff. I could cap it off there. I accept that. All right, so you're here to talk to us about the Caribbean children's charity Shield Soccer Classic that's coming up. And I know you do a lot of PR work for a lot of these community events. So tell me all about it.
We was here last year when it was Socia in Barbados. It's running now, going into the 8th year. But we're taking it to a place where the entire Caribbean is watching. It's going to St. Vincent.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
After the hurricane and stuff. And they also had the ash. They was under pressure for a couple of years. They didn't have no football, nothing. So they decided to accept the invitation from us to host it. And I could tell you, there's only one disappointment I have in it, because I have 5 teams from Tobago, 3 from Trinidad. We have a team from America.
5 from St. Vincent.
5 from Tobago.
Okay.
And 3 from Trinidad.
Uh-huh.
We also have 2 teams coming from the U.S. and Grenada, I think, and Guyana. But I'm disappointed that no team going from Barbados.
What?
Not a team from Barbados, and I think it hurt me when I realized that no team is going.
Well, I mean, you were playing in 3 different categories in the tournament: under 13, under 15, under 17. How come we've not been able to pull a team together to participate?
Well, it shows you how football going in Barbados. I think they got the children running up and down on Saturdays, and that's, I think, a lot of the coaches, the administrations of these youth teams, they got to rise. They got to come. You got to get more professional, because you can't got the children running about in Barbados from January to December and not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We CARICOM, and I can see you had the CARICOM. You had the CARICOM here, the minister,
ambassador. Yeah.
And he also went to the tournament already, and he went to the tournament when he was in Grenada.
Yeah.
He left and come back because he realized the opportunity for these kids,
Yeah.
you know, to gain experience from traveling.
And exposure.
Yeah.
You know, once you're able to get children see somewhere else, sometimes this is the only trip they will ever take.
They'll ever
I know
take.
that when you organize these community tournaments, you have to help with passports. Some children don't have a passport because they've not left the island and so
you're right
on.
on cue, and it helped parents to realize that if you could travel from, say, a 10 where it helped you a lot. It helped you with knowledge of other countries. It helped you to put yourself in, you know, to gain more experience. Traveling is a serious thing, and people don't understand. Going to another country and play in a tournament, it gives me more encouragement, even if you're playing home, because a lot of these guys may not make the national team, and the national team will do a lot of traveling. But I think the community teams, the teams got to start doing some traveling. That's how we're going to get.
But the truth of the matter is, Ivan, even if you're not on the national team and you travel, you're still representing
your country. And
you know,
people,
so that
people
makes
don't
all the
understand that. It's more diplomatic when you travel to other countries. You are pushing your country. You are making your country feel big. And when Tobago and the people in Tobago say that 5 of them teams going to that tournament, you know how it can make the parents, can make the country feel proud.
But talk to me about what tournaments like this do for the community, because that's most important.
Well, they do a lot for the communities, and you know the communities, it's hard for a community to raise funds to travel because the airlift is very high in the CARICOM, which I think the government's got to come together and do something about it, because I don't think that we should got to pay more than like $500 to go to another CARICOM. Yeah, you know, we talking about CARICOM, we bring CARICOM, and these things that we got to highlight, because we got to bring airlift prices down, so that because a lot of the teams come from poor areas. You got Funny Pine, you got Deacons, you got Orleans, you got Nelson Street, you got down by the farm, you know, so a lot of these youth teams come from these areas, and they need to be looked after better. I think a lot of the teams need to. You got good presidents, good secretaries in the clubs. The coaches will be there, but you got someone at the top who could raise funds for these youngsters and things. Especially in a time like the climate now, we got a lot of violence in the areas, in these areas. So if we could build these youth from small and grow them to see how they become a great citizen of the nation, I think that will help. And football is one of the pathways for ghetto youths. You know, when you come out the ghetto, most of the national players of Barbados come from the ghetto areas. You know, the Pine, the Orleans, the Carnon Village, and those areas. And seeing not that we don't have a team, not one team going to St. Vincent, especially at this time when St. Vincent needs the comfort.
Yeah.
You know, the kids going to be excited because they went through something that very serious.
Especially now it's in its 10th year.
Yeah.
Because this was started back in 2014.
2014, yeah. And I mean, with the hurricane, the conditions in St. Vincent, what they went through here with barrel and stuff, to got youngsters coming in, the youth of St. Vincent going to feel very, very good.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to feel very good, and that's something that I'm so vexed at not one team from Barbados. And I got to pay respect to the National Sports Council, because the late Lane, you know, he's one. He pushes the Sports Council team back, but he passed away. I think the Sports Council will hold back. But I would like the Sports Council to try to at least get one team to St. Vincent, because the Sports Council is a very good organization, and most of those kids got passports and things. But I think if someone can make sure that we get a team to St. Vincent from Barbados.
How do we help ourselves, Ivan? And sometimes, you know, it's not to dismiss any of what you've said, but I feel we need to be able to mobilize more people from within our communities to be the change that we want to see. Because a lot of the times we sit on the sidelines and we say this should change and that should change, and we would like to see the young people engaged more in this and that. and you are you're in the forefront. You are literally running among the players and getting things done. But there are a lot of us who are kind of on the sidelines and giving instruction of what we would like to see. How do we move to mobilize people more to make these things happen the way that you envisage they can happen in order for us to see better communities or better within our communities?
I think a lot got to do with the adults, you know. The adults just stay inside and the children outside on their own. I think, as I always say, we got to interact with each other. I think the community, the mothers, the fathers, the uncles, the aunts, then got to come back into the community. Because you can't let the children up there on their own. And we let the children just run in the streets on their own. You know, sometimes even in Pine there, when I go, I see houses shut up and I see these people in coming out and getting involved, you know. So, as I said, clubs need good presidents, good PROs. And the ghetto clubs, I like to call them ghetto, the stagnant clubs like the Orleans and which the programs that they ain't a scratch. You know, they just got the guys, the youths running about the football.
Yeah.
And that's not it.
We have to add more shape. All right, so the 10th annual Caribbean Children's Charity Shield Soccer Classic, long name. It comes off August 7th to 18th.
Yeah.
It's being hosted in neighboring St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's expected to have clubs from Tobago, the U.S., St. Vincent, of course, in 3 categories, under 13, under 15, under 17. Are you commentating this time around?
Yeah.
Because I know that you are the big commentator.
Yeah, but the bookings now, the bookings got me so tight. I had to open.
Star power, man. Star power.
No, not really, because I had to do the Peace Program tournament in Brazil last night. That opened last night, and I booked for the whole of that. I think the 100 grand tournament, I think I got bookings for that too. I don't know to get that.
Listen, man, you want booking agent?
All this.
Ivan, you need listen, it sounds like you're booked and busy. You need a booking agent. Man.
Well,
we're going to have to talk some business, man. You know, listen, here is where I have to leave it. But we look forward to hearing more about the work that you're doing in the community. And I want to encourage everybody, those of us who come from a lot of these communities that have been labeled as vulnerable. I don't know about you, but I don't necessarily like that title.
I don't like it.
I don't like it, and we have to move past that. And that means getting involved and being a part of it. Ivan, always good to see you. Next time I beat man, at least wave back. Or
I will acknowledge you. I see the young lady here talking about Africa, you know.
Yeah. Ivan, we got to go. We talk about that after the show, man.
Which I want to get to Africa
No
too.
problem. He wants to go to Africa. Okay, we're going to take another break.
Enjoy your day.
Absolutely. Always good to have you. Ivan Ford. So listen out for him commentating on all of those tournaments that are coming up. Just about 15 minutes to go in the show. Stay with us, though. We have more coming up.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb.
Welcome to the Crop Over Sweet Spot, your go-to show for all things Cropover 2024. We'll dive into the big issues of the day with exclusive interviews with the entertainers, the experts, the movers and shakers of the festival, plus you, the audience. Get to join the conversation and share your views. Tune in to CBC TV 8 every Friday night for the ultimate Cropover experience with yours truly, the Admiral. We're big on everything Cropover 2024. The Cropover Sweet Spot, brought to you with the kind compliments of Axel Finance.
Tune in every Friday at 6 p.m. to see me, Chrissy D, on Fashion Flair on CBC TV 8. I'll be bringing you the latest fashion trends, fashion ends, and everything in between. Get ready to transform your style, get inspired, and elevate your fashion game with the ultimate guide to looking fabulous. Join me, Chrissy D, this Friday on CBC TV 8 at 6 p.m. for an exciting episode of Fashion Flair.
The ultimate cricket showdown is coming to ESPN, and MCTV has got you covered. The ICC Cricket World Cup 2024 is here on ESPN and MCTV. Tune into MCTV channels 302 and 308, and don't miss a single six, wicket, or heart-pounding moment as top teams vie.
All right, time to take in some of what's happening online in our social media buzz. Just about 9 minutes or so to go in today's show. Well, the Republic Bank Panyard line came off last Friday over at the university at the Big Tent, performing still orchestras included the Allen School, the Lord School, Christchurch, Foundation. Were they there? No, they weren't. The Church of the Nazarene, Notes of Praise, Heart of Flame Youth Band, the Carmel School. Yes, the Christchurch Foundation Still Orchestra, they were there as well. BCC Pan Ensemble and the St. Leonard's Boys Secondary School, as well as Darrell Jordan. We have highlights. It was wonderful. Tell you what, keep viewing TV8. We're going to make sure that we air that again so you get a chance to catch it in its entirety. Also, we're going to announce soon when we will be airing Pandemonium as well. Now, the official launch of the Koiman 4-Day Morning Jam that's coming up pretty soon was on July 13th as well. Featured performances, Mikey, Tion Hernandez, Hypersound, and a whole lot more. We were there.
LP, Green Shante, this one is for my baby. I'm not gassing you, I'm telling you, I'm letting you know that when you put it on me, you drive me crazy. And I hope you know that you're my number one, not first runner up. Nothing better than you and me together all night long. When we're making love, oh, my love is something you can depend on. Well, what if?
What's a launch in the middle of the day without a good Bajan snow cone, right? All right, so the tents are ready. That's right. Judging starts for the Courtesy Garage Pickety Crop competition on Tuesday. And after registration had closed, all 6 Calypso tents were all signed up. 94 Calypsonians have registered to face the judges in the coming weeks. The breakdown: All Stars 21, House of Soca 18, Super Gladiators 16, Big Show 15, Shining Stars 15, and Stray Cat 9. All right, so make sure you are in those seats, filling them up for judging coming up. Of course, you can watch Crop Over calendar for all of the details with Jaquila Lewis. We also have highlights from on Sunday. The Republic Bank pandemonium came off at the National Botanical Gardens, and it was a time.
1, get ready. 2, let me go. 1, 2, 1, 2. My great grandmother, my mother.
This is retail weather. Mash up the stage. High. So high.
High like fireworks.
So high.
Higher than fireworks. One more time. Let's go. Put your
Let me look. Right there, so. Play it right there, so. Right there, so. If you're a proud Bajan, push up your hand and show me. 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 If you love crop over, if you're a proud Bajan, I want you to do something for me. Take out your phone and turn on your phone lights.
Let me see it.
Turn on them phone lights.
Let me light up the place. Let me see it. Hey.
Turn them on. 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 Turn them on.
All right, I saw some CBC babies in that last clip with the ones in white. Tajay, which is Alicia Al's grandson, and Melissa, Chris's daughter, playing. Wonderful to see so many young people involved in Steel Pan. That's good stuff. Hey, a weather checkup quickly before we go. A tropical wave is affecting the island. The general forecast is cloudy with sunny periods and the occasional scattered to light showers. Stay tuned to TV8 and our radio stations for more updates throughout the day. Of course, you want to check the Met Office website as well. Coming up on tomorrow's show, Super Gladiators tent will be in the house. We're going to be telling you all about Pace Digital plus the Fair Trading Commission. They'll be dropping by. And we're talking HR with HERMAP. That's all tomorrow on the Wednesday edition. Until then, have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning, Barbados.